You want to say something?
Amazon, obviously, because you had it.
Oh, hold on, let's make sure we got out with the C. Come on, where we at? Hold on. I can't see them, but hold on, I want to make sure. I really just make sure it this works.
Hey, you and the cat. You know, this one I left, I see that's it. Off my left, I didn't see that. Nah, I can say that, I was thinking that. Yeah, I'm shaking. Yeah, actually, the, wall here.
This is.
They don't care.
Well, I don't need it down there.
I'm not
If
gonna.
you, okay, no, that's fine. As long as everything's on shape.
The side needs a wall. Yeah.
All right, all right, cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you again for coming out to our our monthly Blackfoot Pocono Gun Club class. First off, Happy New Year to everyone. Glad and blessed that we all made it. All right. Today's class we have is the legal use of force, and we have our instructor Tracy that's going to be doing this class. We asked you all to line up in this fashion because we're trying something new today. We are recording our class, and in addition, we have a Zoom going on during our class. Present on the Zoom at this time is our Vice President Trina and our instructor Kenny. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
No, then. Trina, Kenny?
Yeah. Oh.
They might be-
Yes, I can hear you.
Kenny.
Yeah.
He can hear
Okay.
us.
All right, great. They're muted right now, but we're trying this because, as we all know, as we're going to see shortly, we're in the month of January, February, March, where the weather gets kind of crazy. So in the event that we have to, well, not just in the event that we have to cancel our class, we're having people come out, we'll be able to do a class via Zoom. So we're considering having pre-recorded classes. And among other things, so we will not necessarily have to cancel a class. So this is what we're trying today. It's the first time that we're trying to do it. So if we can do that, we're going to, if everything goes well, we'll implement basically an acronym called PACE. It's going to be, what is it? What is it? Priority.
Contingency, emergency.
There you go.
Thank you for using mine.
There you go.
What's
So
it?
we'll be using that, and basically the priority and the alternative and the contingency and the emergency. So in the event that weather comes up, we can do this. Or if people cannot attend, because we do want to begin to enforce our policy of attendance. So it will be an option for people to attend either via Zoom or whatever. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. So please bear with us as we go through this. But you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to actually, it's a little different than that. It's for this, what we're doing here, it's primary. Instructors and members are in class. Alternative, this is members, assistant instructors who can make it in person or join for credit. Contingency, if the weather is bad or a site that we have scheduled, we can't have it there. And then emergency, which is the pre-recorded ones, because say something comes up and instructors are not available or something like that. So again, like Derek said, this is something new that we are looking to see if we can do and how it works.
So bear with us. But as I said, we do have people on the line. Joanna may end up joining on the line also. So without any further ado, as I said, thank you for coming to the class today. We appreciate it. I'm going to turn this over to our instructor, Tracy.
Hello, Happy New Year's, everyone. Happy New Year. So today's agenda, as always, I start off with the universal safety rules. The second is I'm going to go over our annual firearms qualifications. The next we'll talk about reasonable force. deadly force, the use of force continuum. How will a prosecutor evaluate your case? Defense at home and defense of property. Okay, 4 university safety rules. Always treat your guns as if they're loaded. Never point your firearm at anything that you are not willing to destroy. Keep your finger off of the trigger and around the trigger guard until you've made a conscious decision to use your firearm. And always be aware of your target and beyond. All right. The purpose of our annual qualifications, and I would guess say not annual, but the purpose, oh yeah, it is annual, because we do it annually. The purpose of our annual qualifications is to train, well, actually, excuse me, words are difficult. The purpose behind our firearms training and qualification program is to ensure that our members possess the knowledge and the skills and safety in being able to be responsible gun owners. All members must pass the basic qualifications just to be a member. We also require, if you want to participate in range events, or there may be other events that we have, down the line, we want to make sure that you have your fundamental qualifications. The reason for that is to ensure that you know how to handle your firearm. And if you're going to an event, making sure that you are safe for yourself, but the other members are safe with the person who's going there as well. We don't want people going who don't know how to properly use a firearm, who don't know the safety mechanisms of being able to use the firearms, because that puts all of us at risk. The other reason why it's very important is because we're partnering with USCCA. So we have this training. We make it available to all of our members. A lot of our members are members of USCCA. So in the event that there is some type of self-defense situation that you get yourselves into, we want to make sure that you are able to defend yourself. But from a legal perspective, we want to also make sure that you have all the tools and that we can say, hey, this person did take these, so they did know what they were doing. Okay, what about qualification levels? We have basic, fundamental, advanced, and elite. A lot of people are very, very concerned about putting a round in a target. We want to get away from that concept because yes, that's fun, that's important. But what is the most important thing is that in the event, we have to defend ourselves. We have the skill and the training to do it properly. I want to get away from, oh, well, to get basic, you have to get 2 here and 2 there and 3 there. If we work on our skills and we work on enhancing our fundamentals, we'll be in a position where whenever we need to use these things, we'll be able to do it. So we're moving a little bit away from the concept and the idea of target to looking at making sure that we build on our fundamental skills. Okay, and we want to do it in a way where it's supportive, it's controlled, and we want to make sure that our members feel confident handling their firearms. I mean, it was very interesting at last month's class when I asked who had firearms. We still have members who don't even have firearms. So one of the things that we're going to work towards this year is trying to get up our qualifications for the members and also try to get members out, going to the range, enhancing your skills for us to become better at being firearm owners, being better at being able to handle and manage our firearms. When I look at the first 3 levels of our qualifications, you have basic, fundamental, and advanced. Those three really work on your marksmanship. Okay, it works on the fundamentals. There's key elements that's important there. The first is safety. Safety, safety, safety. Making sure that you know that you always treat a firearm as if it's loaded. The other part of it being safety is knowing how to clear your firearm. If we have a range event or some other event and they tell you lock back, clear your firearm, you understand what that means. Also, safety, making sure that when you're at an event, that you're pointing your firearm in a safe direction. These are paramount. We have to make sure that people know how to do that. But by doing that is getting the training and practicing. The next one is handling. That's part of the fundamentals. Proper grip, stance, sight pictures. Those are all part of the fundamentals. And that right there gets, we build on them. The more you go out and you train, as you get to the different levels and even past elite, you start to build and continue to build on those skills. Marksmanship, trigger control. That's very important, especially when we go towards going towards the defensive shooting. The elite qualification, that one really is moving towards, or actually not moving towards, that one really is getting into defensive shooting. The first three is kind of preparing you, but once we get to the elite qualifications, that's actually when you start doing defensive shooting. And when you think about defensive shooting, one of the things is dynamic moving. You're not sitting, someplace still and just point and shoot, looking at your sights. You can't just sit there and wait 10 minutes before you take a shot because you're going to be timed. What does that do? That creates stress. So putting a timing on the different qualifications, now it's building stress. This is trying to simulate what you would be going through in a real live event. Environmental factors. It may be a situation where, you're kneeling, you're going behind something, but just different things that will kind of simulate a realistic situation. Same thing with the realistic scenarios, kind of environmental factors come into that as well. And then the mental conditioning, that we try to start with even before we get to the defensive shooting. We work on that in the beginning because the one thing that we stress on constantly is situational awareness. So part of the defensive shooting also ties in with situational awareness, having the right mindset. All of the training classes that I give, you will see the qualifications in the beginning. So for me, you'll see the universal rules. You'll also see the qualifications. I'm going to drill it in everybody's head. I'm going to be drilling it, because for 2026, what we would like to do is see a lot more people get qualified. And you don't have to get advanced. You don't have to do fundamental, but if we can get everyone to do basic, that would be a big plus. Okay, so now we're getting into reasonable use of force. In most states, they define reasonable use of force as being the minimum amount of force to stop the threat. The minimum amount of force to stop the threat. So, say if you're in a situation where the threat is you're going to get a black eye. Breaking someone's bones is not, that level of force doesn't go with the threat. So it's important to know when you're looking at what type of force you're going to do, you have to make sure that it's reasonable. Deadly force. Every state defines it. They have their own laws that defines what deadly force is. But, I guess what you can kind of say, like, at a bare minimum, most of them believe that deadly force may only be used in the event that you have immediate an unavoidable danger of death or great or grave bodily harm to an innocent person, where there's no other alternative but to defend yourself. There's no way of exit. And that is very important to know. Because in the event that there is a self-defense scenario, you're in a situation, you are going to go to court, and you're gonna have, I think it's 14 people who are going to determine what is reasonable force and what is deadly force. They're gonna be the ones who's judging you. They're not there in that situation when things are happening. But, and they even may sometimes in court, what they do is they set up like different scenarios or examples to kind of show you what could have happened, but they're not there when it's happening. So it's important to understand these things because it helps you to pay attention to your colors. We talk about the different colors. It helps you to pay attention, think about situational awareness, what type of situations you're in. It also helps you to think about, are you innocent? And what does that mean? When we're looking at reasonable force, or even when we're looking at deadly force, there's rules associated with that. Reasonable force, you're in fear that there's a threat against you or someone else. Any force that you use must be reasonable for the circumstance. So, reasonable force. So if I would say, for instance, was going up against, say, my husband, and he was attacking me, and I couldn't retreat, and I pulled out my firearm and I defended myself, that could be used as reasonable force because he's much bigger than I. But what happens is we take that back. What if my husband has a pacemaker? So if he has a pacemaker, I don't know. Well, I'll take back. He's not my husband. He's someone in his shirt. Okay, because if he's my husband, I should know he has a pacemaker. I should know. If I don't know, we got a problem. We got a problem, right? But say he has a pacemaker, and I use extreme force. That's not necessarily self-defense. Because of the fact that he has the pacemaker, he's not as much of a threat as someone who may not. Again, just trying to get you to think, yes.
But that's, okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
No, definitely.
I think it's a whole different
I agree with
thing.
what you're saying.
But if, this is all well and good, and we should have these classes. But if you've never been in a situation where you're being attacked and adrenaline's pumping, in my head, what's not rolling around is this reasonable? I'm gonna do what I need to do if I think I'm in fear for my life and I have to do something. It's not, we're saying all this stuff and it's really wonderful, but I'm pretty sure that when adrenaline's pumping and you're in fear for your life and you're trying to do all the things, stop, don't come, all of these things may come into your head, but the majority of people, especially, and we've seen this with police, if you're in fear for your life, you're gonna do what comes natural. And if you have a gun in your pocket and you pull it out and you're coming towards me, that might not be the best thing for me, but that's the thing I'm gonna be able to do if I have something to protect us. So I wonder, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know that anybody's thinking about, is this reasonable? Am I being reasonable? I'm not being reasonable if I'm in fear.
Now, let me just say, and I understand what you're saying, because you are the individual, as she said, you're the individual that's in it.
Correct.
But just understand, as she said, there's going to be 12 people on a jury that's not going to be there. They're not going to know what you went through. And the question is going to be, did she respond in a reasonable fashion? Now, I say that to say, I don't know how many people in here watch TV. There's a show called Landman. Anybody watch that?
Yes, every day, every Sunday.
Okay, show called Landman, okay? I think it was the last couple episodes ago. There is a man who has a fiance. The fiance works in a bar. The fiance had an altercation with a customer, okay? The customer was thrown out. A couple of weeks later, that customer comes back outside the bar, sees the waitress that he had the issue with. He starts to beat her up. He actually knocks her unconscious.
Gonna rape her.
He's actually about to rape her while she lay there unconscious. Her fiance happened to be coming by that night. The other barmaid told her that she went outside to take a break. He went outside. He sees the man on top of her, unconscious body. So he does what any of us would do. He goes, there's no firearm.
Okay.
He goes, he pulls him off, and he begins to beat him. Now, he beat him to death with his hands. He found out because he blacked out because of the adrenaline. He found out when he was questioned by the police that he hit the man 27 times.
17.
No, 27. It was 27 times. Okay, 17, 20. Whatever.
A lot of times.
He hit him a lot of times. Did he get pat? When that man lay on the ground after he hit him the 5th or 6th time, was he now in control of that situation? Was that man now a threat?
Right.
The man wasn't a threat, which is why the police, it's a show, but it was a good scenario.
He's charged for murder.
Right.
Yes.
They could have, maybe should have charged him with murder. And would that be a legitimate charge? My question to you.
No, because everybody talks about, oh, he was unconscious. When adrenaline is pumping, you're just doing what you're doing. You're doing what you're doing. And the guy died, and that is that scenario is horrible to think about. But
we're talking reasonable force.
And the law.
We're talking about the law, and what's reasonable is when that man is no longer a threat.
Correct.
So if that man is on the ground and cannot move after the fifth hit, or he's not in danger to anyone because he's knocked out, if you continue,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
if you
Okay.
to
Not
treat that
reasonable
man,
force. Reasonable
reasonable force.
I understand that, but
reasonable person. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
But
Can the class hear me?
No.
lack of knowledge. And this is.
Hold on one second.
The class,
Yes.
if you come up against a scenario that way, even though your adrenaline is flowing, your mind's gonna kick in and
Have you think?
hopefully.
Hopefully.
what I'm trying to say.
Excuse me. Hello, let's,
Tracy, do you hear me?
One at a
wait,
time.
let's respect one another. All right?
A lot of us are not educated.
Correct.
We feel that once we have it, we can use it. We don't try to minimize it.
Correct.
If you have a class, hopefully it will kick in. If it doesn't kick in,
It's okay.
you're responsible
For your actions.
That's it.
I mean, at the end of the day, and I wanted to say,
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. Yes, if it's a situation, and that's where, I got 2 more people want to talk as well, and Kenny as well. But that's where I'm going over what the law and kind of what they're saying. Okay, and I agree with what you're saying because, and that's kind of like the shark, when we get to the shark tank, right? When you're in that situation and adrenaline is going, and you have to make that decision, do I defend myself or don't I defend myself? right? If you defend, you already made that conscious decision. Now, knowing and we're getting educated that, okay, we can defend ourselves as long as we're in imminent threat. Once we're no longer in imminent threat, we need to, if we're able to, we need to, leave. Again, adrenaline's working, things are going on, we may not do that, but at the end of the day, everyone has to understand that we are going to be held accountable for our actions. And like I said, I agree with what you're saying. Kenny, I'm gonna let two more people speak and then I'll let you talk. I know Renee, you wanted to say something.
I think you kind of touched on it already, but
Okay.
I was just gonna say, when it's your family, it's an emotional situation. So you're not able to consciously make the right decision. I feel the people who were around him in that specific scenario may have had some culpability. Because if you're the person who's attacking someone because they actually attack and they're harming in the middle of harming your family member, you might be out of sorts. Where was everybody else? Videotaping this? Somebody else should have pulled him off of the guy.
Only 3 people.
Right, and called the cops. This is.
Oh, there was only 3 people there.
I was
Only 3 people, yeah, so that I see what you're saying. In a situation where there's a lot of people there, someone could have come in and tried to de-escalate, but in a situation here, it was only 3. And like Derek said, the guy blacked out. Once he's seen that person on his person, okay, he just blacked out. Kenny.
Judgment. Everything is on a judgment. Scenario is gonna happen. Well, I'm using Cooper as an example. Cooper knows where she works. He knows there's a danger in a scenario situation. So that means he's already around. So he should have used judgment for the roundness that he know he was going, because that's the reason why he really went there. It's because he wanted to check on his girl, make sure nothing is bothering. But my point to us is that everything that's gonna happen with us like this already is something pointed you to that direction already. Meaning the scenario don't happen because there's an argument or a fight or somebody bothered you. You start thinking then judgment. If you're in a situation where you know somebody probably gonna do harm to you, well, we got an opportunity to, and what the court gonna say, walk away.
Right.
Retreat
So
or
you say
de-escalate.
Yeah, but what you say, adrenaline that's kicking in, and that mean you what? You stay for it then. Right? You get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be funny.
Kevin.
I just want to make, 2 observations. When you said something about the person having a pacemaker, and, number one, you're looking at a person, you're not gonna know the person has pacemaker.
Exactly.
Okay, so I
Right.
just want to.
No, but I'm just saying, that's a situation where you can't control it.
Right.
Okay, so I
No.
may now,
No.
I may go, it's self-defense because I felt he was a threat. And I may still win that. But what I was making that point because like in the training and the studying that I was doing, it brought up, which blew my mind, the fact that if the person has, some medical device that we don't know of, depending upon who is defending you, okay? If you don't have USCCA, okay, and you have someone else, you now could be charged with murder because, well, yeah, he's bigger than you, but he has a pacemaker, so he's not as much of a threat. But I don't know that he's not a threat.
Right.
All I do is I see some big man coming after me, and I need to protect myself.
Like I said, that's, you can't visually see that.
Correct.
So any lawyer, worth his piece of paper that he got is to, be able to take that apart. But, but if you see somebody and he's attacking you and the guy or the woman's got crutches, of course.
Correct.
That's plainly.
That's something you can visually
You
see.
can visually see, and you may have stepped yourself in using the amount of force you use to defend yourself. And I just want to say from my own personal experience, I was, I had a security job, before, I became, firefighter in Marshall. And a guy attacked me, and you know what? I used minimal amount of force to subdue this individual. It was, I think, maybe 3 to 4, punches, or techniques, knocked the guy out, rolled him over, put the cuffs on him. Now, when I went home, I got a phone call saying, Mr. Matthews, you may need to get yourself a lawyer. I had to get a lawyer. This guy went out.
And sued you.
He went out and press charges on me. He went to Midtown, South Precinct, and said that I had beat him up. So anyway, make a long story short, I had to get a lawyer, and what the organization that I worked with, they wasn't even on my side. They were trying to say that they fired me because when they looked at my background, because of my knowledge in martial arts and boxing, I should have been able to subdue this man, in a more efficient manner. But I had the lawyer, he says, listen, you know what? And I had some other witnesses so that this gentleman did attack me, and that, I only used a certain amount of force. When this person stopped, he stopped because I knocked him out. And I didn't knock him out, on top of keep on raining punches, because then that would be,
Excessive, considered excessive force.
As soon as the man, his aggression stopped, because he was knocked out, I rolled him over, put the handcuffs on him, and, and then, radioed him in for the sergeant to come over there. But, so I'm saying, I personally been.
You've been there.
And when they do an investigation, when we get arrested, for using that firearm, and that's the reason why we have these classes, so that we all know, what's what's considered, excessive force. They're gonna look in your background. If you had boxing or you had jujitsu, whatever, they're gonna try to use that against you. So that's why they're gonna do a canvas. They're gonna check that. Surrounding video cameras. Witnesses and your lawyer should be able to use that and say that my client used the minimum amount of force to protect themselves. The situation was
Non-avoidable.
It was not avoided. The situation was arrested on the person, the law kept charging them, and then you'd be able to get off. So I won that case, but I didn't get my job back,
So you lost.
Correct.
So you won and lost.
But yeah, and at least it wasn't, on my record, because if it was, I would.
Then you go to jail.
Correct.
You can find another job.
Yeah, but.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Kenny, can
Yes.
you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so what did you want to say?
One, the situation should be flipped, right? Not Steve attacking Tracy, Tracy attacking Steve, right? It is less likely to use reasonable force at that point because you're much smaller in stature, in strength than he. The argument that is correct that having a pacemaker, you cannot see that in under stress and time, you're not going to make that determination. But because of that, articulation is key. What you say and how you say it means everything. Okay. So yes, you're going to be taken. Yes, you're going to have to answer questions. Yes, they're going to look into your background, which is why it is very important to understand why you post, how you post certain things, what you say, certain text messages, everything that you ever go do, because all of that stuff will be looked at, and they can go back as far as 5 to 10 years looking into your stuff. And that's emails, social media, text messages, phone calls, groups, whatever.
Okay,
Articulation is key.
perfect. So basically what Kenny was saying
The
is,
reasonable force, or you have to look at it as a reasonable person. You're going to have a jury of 12 people that may not be Second Amendment people. And you at that point have to articulate your case, or have your attorney articulate your case on why you used the force that you did. And has to be a reasonable person that would be making the same choice. So yes, under stress and adrenaline and everything else like that is going to spike, things happen. There's nothing you can do about that. But you have to be able to articulate yourself and understand where this is reasonable force and where you need to stop, because another reasonable person may not make those same decisions, and that's what they're going to go off of.
okay, all right. So basically what Kenny was saying is, when I used the scenario, what I should have done is switched it around and said that Steve was attacking me.
That's what you said. You said it.
Oh, no,
You
I'm
attacking
sorry,
Steve.
that I was attacking Steve. So it switched up where I was attacking Steve because I'm small and he's bigger. And that what Suzanne said, like the fact of, when he's articulating that what you're saying is true. Yes, when adrenaline is going, we're not thinking about it, but this is where it's important that we understand what the laws are, but we also understand that we have to be able to articulate ourselves. Because if you're in that situation and you have to go to court, you got to justify, you have to explain what's going on. Also, it's very important how we put things out on social media, because they will go back potentially 10 years to look at your social media. And I was actually going to go on some of this stuff back down, but we're kind of doing a lot of it up here, which is fine.
Just your social media, your text messages, your phone
Text
calls,
messages,
your
social media,
emails.
phone calls, any type of relationship that you may have had with that person, the prosecutor is going to look up all of that stuff, because their job is
Not
to.
just that person, anything. Anything. They're going to see that you're a part of a gun club. They're going to see that you post certain things about going to the range. They're going to see that you post certain things that might not be fitting of someone that is supposed to be of knowledge in a part of a gun club, and that you want to go shoot someone. All of that gets used. All of it.
So basically saying they're gonna try to use anything they can against us to say that we intentionally wanted to kill that person. Not that we were defending ourselves, but we set out.
It was premeditated.
It was premeditated.
Basically, Judge, as I keep saying, everything, we don't walk out the door and walk into nothing. Something comes to you or you get involved in. So that means, when you're driving road rage, grocery store, cart, picking up something, it's creating. So you gotta make a judgment before it even gets to that level. So
But there are situations
Well,
where you are in that
Yes.
situation and
nothing can be done.
nothing can be done.
Right. Right.
But okay, and in those situations are the ones where we have to make a decision, where we do reasonable force, as long as it's reasonable, or deadly force, whatever that situation is, but understanding what those things are and making that conscious decision, but also understanding that your background, what you've done, what you're involved in, being a member of the gun club, that's going to play a major role. What type of things that we post online? Are we posting things where, we want to go out there and shoot everybody up? These are the type of things that they look at, because they're looking for, a prosecutor's job is to prosecute. Okay, they're not there to get you off. But if you have, USCCA, that kind of helps, because we have lawyers who are Second Amendment, rights, and they're able to kind of help us with these things. Yes.
Yeah, my understanding is you're not telling us not to defend.
Correct.
And that's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm not. I'm just
Wait.
trying to make sure we have the.
But don't let a firearm be your first option. That's just as simple as we can get it.
Thank you.
Correct.
Let it be the last thing
Yes.
that you resort to before.
Yes. Lethal force.
That's
First thing is retreat or de-escalate.
exactly.
Okay. If you get into a situation and it could get heated.
Right.
Think about our situational awareness. Think about the things that's going on, and then try your best to de-escalate. Because sometimes you get into a situation, like you said, you go into a bar, something happens, it starts to get heated. Then, you know what? This isn't worth it. De-escalate.
Get out of it.
The key is always to de-escalate. Again, the purpose of this class, and I picked this class because I've listened not just to members of the club, but other people who talk about what they're going to do and how they're going to protect themselves without really understanding what the laws are or how they're holding us accountable. And as much information as we can empower you with, I think is important. And we want you to know what these things are. But at the end of the day, the individual in the situation is the one who's going to have to make that decision. Okay? It's kind of like being in that red zone. When you get in that red zone, You are making a conscious decision on how you're gonna handle that. You've already made that decision. Now, if we can go in the orange or the yellow, where we can possibly, de-escalate, see our way out of that situation, that is always the way you wanna go. You always wanna go there. But I wanted to bring this up because these are very important in how you're gonna be viewed if you are in a situation where you have to protect yourself. Any other questions? Any other comments? Great discussion. Doesn't want to work for me now. Hold on.
Well, yeah, one thing we can add to that is that we should be mindful is that because we have firearms and we know we can use them, we automatically feel like we are bigger than the situation already. That's what we have to start thinking. We can't use the gun as our first priority of thought because we know we're safe with the gun. Because, that's what most people would feel, I would think, is that, what, if we are arguing or fussing, I ain't really too worried about it. I know you probably got one, but I got one too. So that means that my first thought is that, well, if it does get too bad, I always got my gun.
It's very interesting that you said
Actually,
that.
for me, that would be, my thought would be, if I have my gun, I'm gonna make sure that I'm paying attention more carefully because
That's
I
what
don't.
I mean. That's what I mean, is that we always think first because of the gun that we find, so we do different, like for your first reaction. Or what you do, your first reaction is probably like, well, man, what? Because you got a gun. Most people
But
ain't
actually-
always just look and say.
But actually,
Why
your first reaction with having a gun should not be,
No.
oh, well, your first reaction with having a firearm was, you have a wonderful day and I'm leaving.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's that
That's
part.
what he's
That's what I'm
saying.
saying,
Yeah, that's what I'm really saying. Is that, you got a gun, you safe, you just don't, but if it escalates, you can't turn around with the gun before it escalates, like, I got a gun. So, who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? That's the thought I'm talking about. Is that you have to look at the thought of I got a gun, is that first of all, I can defend myself. I don't know what he's got, but I can defend myself. So I'm gonna walk away. I know I got more than you right now. I know this. But do you know if he got that? You don't know that. So, but you can defend yourself. So you can walk. I would walk away because I think if you keep on peppering now,
Yes.
I can use my gun.
Yes.
I do remember reading somewhere, some time ago, that, a lot of times, a situation is de-escalated as soon as the perpetrator or attacker sees firearm without the person having to pull the trigger.
That could be possible. That could be possible. But
You
now
have to
what
be
you've
careful
done,
of the
so
threat of brandishing.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Yes. So, so you're saying that you can de-escalate the situation by showing the person your firearm. No, I just. You're-
No, that's what he's saying.
So what you're saying, James, is that if you show the person the firearm, that will help de-escalate it. Well, if you show the person your firearm, and if you look up here, that in the state of Pennsylvania, that will be looked at as brandishing a firearm.
Not brandishing in Pennsylvania.
Or not brandishing, what is it? Terroristic threat. So in Pennsylvania, it's terroristic threat. Some places it may be brandishing, misdemeanor,
I
but
believe you could also be charged
with a misdemeanor.
like attempted murder or something, because I think you can't.
Oh, yes, because it's terroristic threats. So you have to be very, very careful. When you make a decision, it's kind of going into the red zone. Okay, we talk about white, we talk about yellow, we talk about red, and then we got that extra one, which is black. And that's what that person went into when he's seen, well, actually, no, that wasn't that one.
First you jump on. Black is when you freeze.
We were freeze, yeah, that wasn't that one. I guess he was all red. He was completely red. So basically, you don't want to, when you show that person a firearm, you're at that point where you've made a conscious decision that you're going to use your firearm. You do not brandish the firearm or show a person the firearm because you're trying to get them to back off. Yes.
Isn't that better for the person to back off? Then get into
But then that person can call the police and say that you were threatening them with the firearm and you will be arrested.
think that's what happens.
Double-edged
Your posture, the posture can be what can help you, so you don't have to brandish it. It's like we train, put your arm up, stay back, I don't want no issues. And your
Words.
gesture kind of says, like, I don't want the issue.
Essentially,
It's
you
not
never have to
branded.
show the firearm.
You don't have to
You
show.
can just put your
Just
hand
the
somewhere.
gesture of, I'm protecting myself. I don't want no issues. I'm trying to just have a good day. When you brandish it and let the person actually see it, that's when it goes into a terroristic threat. So we want to establish the difference between a gesture and brandish.
But you have to understand, the problem with that is anybody that did, if he didn't see the gun,
He's gonna see it when you.
but no, he's gonna assume
Assume
you
you
have
have
it.
it.
And he can still call the police and say, he pulled out a gun on me. It's just your word against his.
Correct.
And the police come up on you and
You
you
got
have a
a
firearm.
They're gonna believe
They're
that.
not believe
It's true.
The difference is still you have to prove it.
Almost-
Well, you have to fire on that proof.
Yeah, well, it's not even about you have to prove it.
We
You're
had,
going to jail.
Yes.
we had someone 2 classes ago, Zeke. He had a friend who was in a situation where he was on the highway. It was kind of like a road rage thing. And he pulled over or whatever, and the woman had pulled over, he pulled over, he said something to her. He never showed her his firearm, or did he?
He never did.
He
Somehow when he was getting out the car.
Oh, she's seen it. So he never showed it to her. He never brandished it. Okay. But when he got out the car, she kind of seen the firearm. Once she said she kind of pulled off, she called 911. They arrested him. He was still in jail.
Absolutely.
He was still in jail. So again, just saying we all have to make judgment and have to make decisions. We have to do what we feel is right. But it's my responsibility to make sure you understand what may be the repercussions behind you doing that. So you want to be very careful. Yes.
I think people need to really focus on what exactly is the interpretation of de-escalate.
Correct.
Because to your point, you're like, oh, I just showed, it's not like TV. Like you're showing to everyone else's point, you really, it's like you don't want to show your hand for anything. Right? That is the thought that you need to really need to think about, and you really need to think about putting things aside and what does retreating look like, right? Is it backing up but just still having eye contact? So those are the things that we need to really start to think about. I mean, the other stuff is fine, but I think we need to start at the basics of what does retreating mean and what does de-escalating mean, especially for us with Black faces.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to piggyback on what she said, and also what Dirk had said earlier. Posturing and brandishing is pretty much the same thing. So don't put your hand there, and it's the same thing as you actually taking it out.
Also, it's not de-escalating.
That's right.
It's not de-escalating. I'll give you a scenario. And this is to go to retreating or de-escalating. And I'm gonna ask you guys to tell me, I'm gonna take a couple people and have them, give me their opinion on it. So I go into bar, I have my fire. And there, I'm sitting there on the bar, I have I'm sitting like this. And somebody walks in and they bump me. Okay, they don't say excuse me or anything, they bump me. And I say asshole. Okay, so then the person comes back and the person's like, did you just call me an asshole? And I'm like, yeah, I called you an asshole, right? And then we get into something, right? But then as we're starting to get heated, I realize you're a freaking idiot. You're carrying, you're not, yes, you know what, sir, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean it. I apologize. Person still heated, I'm really sorry. I really didn't mean it. I apologize for calling you out your name. I'm saying sorry as much as I possibly can. Because the people in the bar now, or wherever the establishment I'm in, what they're gonna remember is I said, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. And like you said, I already know where my exit is because, my situation awareness, get my coat, whoever I want, it's time for us to go. Okay? De-escalate. Now, the other scenario, I'll give you two scenarios. The other scenario is, now that person comes up to me, I called them an asshole, okay? And the other scenario is I come in, they bump me. Now, I really want to call that person an asshole, but I don't say anything, right? I keep my mouth closed. Okay, then the person comes back, they bump me again, don't say anything, and then they say, then they start a confrontation with me, right? I now do everything I can to, you know what, I really don't want any problems, I'm sorry, I'm whatever. I now get to leave, I say to whoever I'm with, come on, let's go, I'm starting to leave, that person follows me out. Okay, now I'm doing everything that I can to leave. That person follows me out. Right? I'm still trying, I'm sorry, trying to get, trying to not take myself into the red zone. But this person has already decided they want to fight. Now, at this point, I have to decide, do I now just, try everything I can to get in my car and just leave? Or do I say that I feel that I'm in a threat and I'm in bodily harm? And I think the situation will depend. Did the person put out a firearm? Does the person have a weapon? Because those are the different things that you can say, reasonable, okay, or deadly. Did the person put their hands on me? If not, I can just continue to do what I need to, get in my car and just go. So now the first scenario, I want someone to tell me how would they handle that? Or what do they think do they believe that I was innocent in that first scenario?
No.
No.
Yes. I'm saying yes.
Okay, why do you think I was innocent?
You were apologizing. You
No.
realize.
I said no. Initially, the first one, I apologize in the second one. The first, okay. So yes, at the end, I was innocent, but in the beginning, I was not innocent. Okay,
I think it all was on you.
it was all on me.
Yeah, because you brought your gun in the bar. First thing I asked Miss Stacy, you want to drink alcohol, why did you bring your gun?
Kenny, I love you. Okay, but the reality is, it is not illegal to take your firearm in the bar.
No, I know that, but you wouldn't drink.
Yeah.
So you, of course, you've been paying. It's gonna be what? Like I say, judgment, bad.
But I only had club
It
soda.
doesn't matter, the jury gonna look at you, had alcohol in
I
you.
only had club soda.
No, well, club soda, it was the environment that make you wanna drink.
You can't handle your blood.
There you go. They're gonna come up with something, but if they hear that gun, well, it defines everything. So whatever you do with that gun defines everything. Your choice is defined by that gun. That's a weapon. So if you got to have that gun with you, you already feel safe. So if you create something, okay, that's your opinion. Yeah,
Anybody else?
Yeah, everybody got.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Thing you have to consider, you're sitting at a bar, somebody hits you from behind. You don't know if they stumbled into you or were pushed into you.
Correct.
Or tripped you fell.
It's an accident.
Yeah, but the gun make you strong.
Sure.
Gun and drinks.
Gun is right, like the strong in the bar. Oh, man, what the hell? You know the gun. And first of all, you would look if you didn't have the gun.
Right, so.
Well, it all depends. Back in the day for me, I didn't have to have a gun. I still call it.
I just knocked him. You know, by the little bit, whatever.
That situational awareness comes into play. Somebody hits you from behind, you're gonna turn around and see what it was that made them do that. If somebody's gonna push you and say, hey, there's something to say. That's different than somebody saying, oh, my bad, I stumbled, or they're so drunk that they hit you and didn't even realize that.
But again, what I was just trying to show with those scenarios is what Lorraine said, is it is true. And I think this is one of the things that should be at the forefront of all Blackfoot members. We want to put ourselves in a position that we can de-escalate and retreat. We do not want to have to use our firearms. That should always, always, always be the last option. And if for nothing more, I don't think there's anyone here who really wants to have a person's death on their conscience. Even if we feel it's justified. I know I don't.
I see the other thing you gotta think about is the minute you have your firearm and the cop is called, you're automatically guilty. No matter what you say, no matter who, anybody, you're getting locked up, regardless of whether you brandish anything, even if you didn't, just the fact that you have it on you, you're gonna get locked up. That's the scenario where we are in the current environment right now.
I have something I've been through. Who is when I say God? I had my phone stolen at Red Robin's, but I had to go give a report. But when the cop came, my gun outside the door. So when I opened the door, he came up. The first thing he did was go all into agony about me not being in the store. You need to stay outside. And comes to find out the reason why is because I had a firearm. So the firearm speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say that.
And that's
because
exactly what.
Well, understand something. You're saying the firearm speak for yourself, and I'm sorry to say this, but your color kind of speaks for itself too.
Well, that's true too. That was part of the fact that a black man with a gun got license and all of that, but they would not let me go back into Red Robin's anymore after he saw that gun.
Because he was afraid that you were gonna go in and start brandishing it and shooting people up because someone stole your phone.
Yes, cause your attitude, saying it's back to the gun. The gun speaks for itself. The judgment comes from when cause you feel safer, more stronger because you got a gun. The judgment comes from the scenario, whatever is created, whether way you walk away or you can't walk away. But it's still on you. You're the first thing. If you know you finna guard beefing up heat with somebody, walk away. You got a gun. I'm just saying, that's me. I don't want to go to jail because I know me. You probably gonna wind up in court too, and it's going to juries and all that because you could have walked away and went on.
But yes.
Last night I was watching something on YouTube. The title was when black men pick up firearms. It was about the Black Panthers. How America feared black men picking up firearms and defending themselves. And it was pretty long. Basically, when we have firearms, the goalpost moves.
Oh, yeah.
When our counterparts have the firearms, the goalposts, stays flat. Everything is in their favor, and nothing is in our favor. No matter if you brandish it, you don't brandish it, whether you go inside Red Robin's or you're not inside, everything always is in their favor, never in our favor. And I'm gonna land the plane. Some years back, I was talking to one of those Jehovah's Witnesses, came to my house, and I didn't know that they don't believe in firearms. They don't believe in self-defense, none of that. So this individual, and of course he stopped talking to me, when we got into the topic, he said, what you said, do you want that on your conscience? I said, hold up. I said, I'm here in the house. It's about 11 o'clock at night. It's a storm outside. I'm by myself. I said, 5 guys come through the door. What am I supposed to do? And then they kill me. Or should I take them out? He says, do you want that on your conscience? And then I said, okay, I thought about it. Then he says, well, if they kill you, Jehovah has a better place for you to go to. Oh. And my response was, how about I kill them and Jehovah has a better place for me? And I stay here and live a little longer for my friends and family. And he said, you want that on your conscience? I said, listen, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay, but you want to defend.
And then I said, how about Israel? He was Jewish, so-called, we're the real Jews. I said, how about Israel? I said, they got tanks, they got jets, they got guns, they got bullets. Nobody's telling them to disarm.
Can I make one observation?
But Suzanne had her hand up first, so you can do it after Suzanne.
I'm just, my comment was, the Second Amendment was not made for Black people, it was made for white people. We were not a part of the Constitution, so we can jump up and down about our Second Amendment rights, But it was not, yeah, it wasn't, right, it isn't even for white people really, but it's for them and not for us. And so that's what we need to understand, and we said, and we all said this many times, so that's the only thing I want to say, because we are trying to act like we're part of this society, when in actuality, if we were, we wouldn't have to have a lot of these conversations, but we're not. The Second Amendment was not made for us, it was made for them. And when they talk Second Amendment, they're eliminating us out. So we need to understand, as everybody has said, where we fit in the picture so that we know, we understand and what you're trying to teach us. What's gonna happen when we make the decision to protect ourselves in any situation.
Right, but, I mean, but the situation, if we decide to do deadly force, unless you probably are a law enforcement officer, in most cases, if you, even though,
Unless you're nice.
unless you're ICE, okay, unless you're ICE, unless
ICE
you're,
in the trunk.
okay, yeah, you will
Or
you will get arrested. Now, I'm not saying you ain't gonna get off, okay? Okay, I'm not saying they won't get off, but you will get arrested.
That's not true.
That's just
You
part of the
black guys
process.
get arrested.
No.
Just saying.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying from personal experience, so,
Let's-
yeah.
Black trumps everything, Mom. You know that already. Black trumps everything, so.
Okay. So I'm, yes,
I just wanted to respond to one thing that my friend here said. He had to do with
Where are your classes?
what you said?
first rule of self-preservation is the first rule of life.
Okay, so I got another question. So I asked about the innocent. Actually, I didn't use any use of force, so, I didn't actually use any use of force, so to stop the threat. In either scenario I gave you. But the last one was, did I make a reasonable means to escape or retreat, which I did. In the two scenarios I gave, I actually, made a reasonable,
Walking out the bar,
I was walking out. Okay, so
which is fine.
with my firearm. It hadn't been brandished yet. I hadn't taken out. It's still in its holster. But again, the purpose of this is to educate us so that we're aware of what the rules are.
Listen, and I want you to know, there's so much more to this.
Correct.
There's so much more to this, but when we get, this is probably the only avenue that we can actually have a good educated conversation, because everyone has questions. So a lot of times we may not we're probably not gonna get through this slide, but I don't mind it because they're good questions and they're real questions. So if you see this topic again next week or, next month, just understand, we didn't finish it, we're not finishing, but these questions are good for everyone. So I don't have any problem with that, okay?
I have another scenario for you. So now I'm a 6'3" male. Okay. I'm leaving someplace late at night and I don't want to walk down 3 blocks to get to my car. So there's an alleyway, I go down the alley. Okay. I'm going down the alley. As I'm down the alley, now I get approached by bad people. Okay. And, I try to de-escalate. I try to do whatever I want to do, but I have to take my firearm out and defend myself. I defend myself. I, get on the phone, call 911. Okay, well, actually, no, I call somebody else to call 911 because I didn't call 911. Okay, so they can, trip me up. Hey, I just was in a situation. This is where I'm at. I may even drop them with my location. Okay, I now go towards the end of the alley, out of the alley, so I'm away. And make sure 911, make sure the police come, make sure ambulance come. Okay, I then take my firearm, I, put it in the case, make sure, it's not on me, I think put it down by me or whatever. Police come. In that situation, in a scenario I just provided you. Was I innocent?
Well, yeah, somebody listening, you know if they were paying, they could have been taken out.
Well, when I said they're bad, they were attacking me with the firearm. So if I'm saying they're bad, I was being attacked.
Why you
So
think
I was
that?
defending myself, huh?
You know, you put, like I say, back again, judgment. Why you know what I had? You know, just call it a shortcut, but then the safest way to go is down the damn street, but you cut down it.
So I'm not innocent.
No, you ain't answer, you created the
No, you
scenario.
can't
I
be
don't
guilty just for walking on certain
Yeah,
places.
No,
you are,
you
you are.
But if you should know your surroundings.
It's a situational awareness.
Right,
You
because
should know your surroundings. You're going down.
Tracy, that doesn't make you guilty.
No, it doesn't make you guilty.
No,
It doesn't make, it doesn't make you guilty, but what
Put
it
yourself-
does do is when you go to be, when whoever has to defend you, the prosecutor will try to use that
Absolutely.
as a reason why you're guilty. Because he's gonna say exactly what Kenny was saying. Why did you go down that alleyway?
Yes.
You should have gone, where it was
Public,
like.
the street light to be seen.
You're not guilty. The only thing you're guilty is.
Put yourself in the situation. I say guilty. I say that, I know guilty.
The only thing that you're guilty of is bad judgment. You know, I mean, you making a decision and walk down that alley doesn't make you guilty.
Correct, but what I'm saying is, I'm giving these scenarios because again, you are now being judged by a prosecutor and 12 peers. You're being judged by people who know nothing about you, know nothing about your situation, and most of them are not gonna look like you.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I was on jury duty last year. And I don't ever in my entire life ever want to go on jury duty again. It was the worst experience of my entire life. It was horrific. And if you heard the stuff that people said, okay, you had this one woman, it didn't matter common sense or not, he was guilty, it didn't matter.
That's what the prosecutor wanted.
And so I'm just saying this to get you to think about, situations and, situational awareness. If you can avoid the alleyway where there's bad lighting and different things like that, it may help you. I'm not saying that it makes you guilty,
Right.
okay? But I am saying that is something that will give the prosecutor, okay, ammunition to try to say, oh, well, you know what? If you hadn't gone down there, it wouldn't happen. And that's not necessarily true. Because those bad people may have been following me. I may not have been watching, I may not have been doing my situational awareness properly, and didn't notice that they were following me.
Female, in the dark, walking the alley.
But see, I wasn't female.
Yeah.
I was.
Well, you didn't say that.
I did. I said I was a 6'3" male.
But understand, what she's alluding to and what Kenny would probably allude to was, if you're a 6'3" male and you have a firearm, you go down that alleyway, you get into something, now you're gonna have a prosecutor that's going to go through your social media, and if you are always talking about killing people on your social media, it taints the view of what happened.
Yes.
So
Of your innocence, because they're trying to make it seem like you're not innocent. So this is just giving food for thought, because remember, you're not, the people who are gonna be looking to judge you don't know nothing about you. And I can tell you, being on a jury, the law sucks,
Yes,
okay? They need to change the laws.
yes.
They have you, the things that they have you decide on innocent and guilty is most of us will sit down and say, this doesn't make any sense. So it's important, I just want to make sure that we kind of think about these things. We keep these things in our heads as we're, as we talk about different scenarios. And I agree with Suzanne, when we get into a situation where we have to defend ourselves. And Kenny says this all the time. Doug says it all the time. When you're in these situations, you are gonna retreat to your lowest level of training. And you're also gonna retreat to your lowest level of like, the consciousness, because now you're working on adrenaline. So, hopefully if we keep throwing these things at you and having these conversations and talking about different things, that we're more conscious of it, we're more aware of it, so that hopefully we can make the best decision we can at that time. Because, I don't think any decision that any of us will make will be a bad decision. You're just making the best decision that you can make at that particular time.
Best thing to do the next 3 years, just don't do that.
What you said, the best thing to do next week is not doing
The
it?
next 3 years, you only got 3 left, but right now,
Oh, yeah.
It goes in there not to be.
You miss what I'm talking
I know.
about. Okay, I'm just saying, because we need to stay out of mind for the next 3 years, we be fine.
Well, we making big assumptions on that.
Well, that's true too, but at least we'll be safe for 3 years if you stay outside out of mind. You still got to get past it.
Yeah, Tracy.
So I'm gonna actually. I'm gonna let USCCA has a cute little. Hold on.
Okay, I think, that's a good question.
Why isn't it coming up? Sorry. I'm having a little technical difficulties. I may have to bear with me 1 second, guys.
The first thing that's actually wrong with all jury cases is most of the time when it comes to us, it's not a jury of our peers.
In a situation with this young gentleman, he had, he did have some of his peers, the one I was on, there.
Well, when you say jury and peers, you gotta realize prosecution and the defense, they pick favorites for their defense or for their
Okay.
prosecution. So
Okay,
that don't matter if he's a so-so guy, he gonna read enough into it to know that he gonna say guilty. So he going on the jury. Defense is looking for something to say not guilty, then he going to know. But, if you get a good mixture, you win. If you don't, you don't. But 9 times out of 10, if it's close, then you black,
If it's a case with a black man or woman that used their legally owned firearm and they were in the right, they're not going to get a jury of us.
No, they're gonna get
It's not
somebody
gonna
to try to
black,
get you.
Blackfoot, club members on the.
He's right.
Darryl. I believe, while she's, looking for that, take some 5-10 minutes out to speak about what it is you're doing.
Just.
Stand up, please.
Think. Yes, Ken. I am, very much concerned about what's going on in our country. Plain and simple. Somebody else just got shot in Minneapolis or Minnesota today. I think that given what is going on, that we need to have some way of responding. And what better way than to have an organization that has experience, history, resources, than the NAACP. I think it is absolutely crazy that the NAACP branch here in Monroe County is defunct, inactive. Okay, plain and simple. I understand that ICE was in Eastern Allentown, but they were also here in Stroudsburg. And I know that, people make decisions based on emotion or reason. Guess who has the better life?
Say that again?
People make decisions based on emotion or reason. Guess who has the better life? You would say reason, right? But it's actually both. Be motivated by your emotion guided by your reason. Emotion would have me run out there with a gun and pop 9 or 10 of those, but in reason says that's not the way. But I want to get them somehow. So with the organization like the NAACP, with the legal arm, they can file suits or hire investigators and act in a reasonable way to respond to it. And I'm trying to get this branch reactivated. All right, I'm hoping to have a small meeting right after this. And we can talk about how we can begin to do that. That's it.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to add, Deb?
Well, I'd like to consider, but I'm trying to run for president of that organization.
Thank you, Darren.
I'm shy. Right? I have what they call an extroverted introvert.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the conclusion of this class. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm having some technical difficulties, but basically I was gonna play a video. Unfortunately, it doesn't go loud, so next time what I'll probably do is bring my speakers so that whoever's on the Zoom, you could hear them, as well as like the video. So that's a note to self that I bring
Well, it's okay, because as I said at the beginning, this was the first.
It's the first one.
To try it out.
Correct.
So,
we know one of the side effects. But basically, if we're in a situation where we have to defend ourselves, there's going to be a prosecutor who's going to look at what happened. We're going to get arrested, especially if someone is shot. If it's a situation where it's brandishing, there's still a possibility that you will get arrested if someone, calls 911 on you. So, the prosecutor's job is to make a case. USCC says they're great debaters. I mean, I don't know if they're debaters or not, but what they do is they go and they're not always looking for facts to prove that you didn't do anything wrong. Okay, they're looking for facts to prove that you're guilty. And going through your social media, going and asking questions, maybe where you worked or, the neighborhood, the relationship you may have had with that person or other people, looking at what your morality is or what your beliefs are, your likes or dislikes on things that you posted on Facebook. I mean, I'm very, very careful about what I like and I don't like on social media. I may agree with certain things, but people may never really know what my beliefs are unless they talk to me, because I purposely don't like or dislike, especially political things and stuff like that, because I don't think it's anybody's business what my political views are. And now being a member of Blackfoot and being an instructor, this just pushes it more so, because that's information that could be used against me. Okay, in a court of law. I don't want anything that's out there that I put out there to be used against me. So that's another thing to think about. I know some people don't believe in social media at all. Maybe for that reason or other reasons, but it's things to think about. Again, like I said, the prosecutor's job is not to say that you're innocent. He gets paid to say that you're guilty. Oh, it's not working. Okay, there it goes. A jury. We talked about this before. And Kenny actually stated this. It's very, very important how you communicate. When you're in these situations, it's important how you communicate. I remember when we first were starting our partnership with USCCA and Craig did the first session at the bar. And I was asking him some questions because prior to, having that session with Craig, I was told that if I'd gotten to a situation, like for instance, at a bar, not to say a bar, like say if I had a conflict with someone, let's say you have a conflict with someone at work, right? And you and this person don't get along, or whatever, and that person came to your home, I don't know why they would come to your home, because if you don't like that person, they shouldn't have got an invitation to your home. But say we went to an event to your home or whatever, and, you know, something happened, it became a situation where you had to defend yourself. Or like say they were in the bar and you were in the bar and you came in a situation that you could defend yourself. Huh? I stay in the bar. I stay in the bar. I sure do. That if something happened, I could not use self-defense because I had, I guess, negative interactions with that person. And Craig actually explained that. And he said, and that's why, if you notice the scenario I had where I left. And he says, no, that's not true. He says, yes, they may bring that up, but it's not just black and white. There's other things that's, you know, that you have to take into consideration. And that's why in the scenario I brought up, hey, you know what? I wasn't thinking properly. I was not acting the way I should act as an innocent person or a person who has a firearm who's held to a higher standard. Now I need to de-escalate. Because he told the situation where he had someone who got into a situation in the bar, exactly did that exact thing, went to de-escalate, went to leave, okay, and it heated up again in the parking lot.
Actually, they fought in the bar.
Oh, they fought in the bar.
They fought in the bar, and he realized that he had his firearm on him. So he got up and he exited the bar. And then said individual followed him out. So they tried, he presented it as two different incidents.
Correct.
They had their fight. This guy was done. He exited. He
tried to de-escalate.
And then the other individual followed him outside, where that was part two or a separate incident.
Correct.
And said individual did end up
Shooting, yes. And he was able to get the person on. But prior to having the session with Craig, what I had been told from other people was that, oh, if you have this, if that's it, you know, if you have a conflict with someone, it's almost like if I get a conflict with someone 5 years ago, and then we have a scenario, we meet, and there's a situation where even though I try to de-escalate and I have to protect myself, I'm still considered guilty because we had this scenario where that's not necessarily true. But I say that to say the 12 people who are sitting there, who's going to be responsible for you, they're probably going to hear the most horrific things about you, about how you're a horrible person, you're a gun-toting, whatever. All you want to do is go out there and kill people. I mean, again, the prosecutor is going to try to paint you in a very, very negative light. So be mindful about what you say, who you say it around, what you do, what you write, because these things could potentially, I'm not going to say they will, but they could potentially come back in a negative light when you really don't need them to. And, okay, deadly force, what is the time? Okay, we still got good time. Deadly force to your home and deadly force to, say, your property. Now, most of us say, you know what? We live in Pennsylvania, and we don't have to retreat. What I will do after the class, I did do a little bit of research on the Pennsylvania law for retreating and stuff like that. I will, when I send out the email to everybody, thanking everybody for coming, I'll put in some links to different sites for lawyers, which kind of talks about deadly force, when to use the force, just kind of things that you can look at for reference. And I actually went to the sites that had like lawyers and different things like that had that information if you want to look for reference. But you know, typically we have the castle doctrine here. You can protect your home. Now we talk about property. I would say if that property is your vehicle and there is a loved one in there, I would look at it the same way I would a shark tank. Now, does everybody know what the shark tank analogy is?
No.
Okay, so what the shark tank analogy is that you have a shark tank and you got a really, really expensive watch and it fell in the shark tank. What is gonna make you put your arm in that shark tank to get that watch? Well,
Who shark tanking is?
okay, but if, so if Dawn fell into that shark tank, you're not gonna get.
Don't use that.
If Dawn fell into that shark tank.
How big is the shark? Let me wait now.
So this is the truth. You're saying if I fell in that shark tank, you're not going in there?
How big is the shark?
You know, I want a new husband, okay? I want a new husband. This one, I want it.
Where is the shark?
And he tried to want the biggest shark tank.
With the shark. This is just an analogy.
Oh,
This is just an analogy.
but I'm just saying, if it's an expensive watch, your shark tank, let the damn water.
Let the water.
The shark. Oh, but I'm just saying, you got to check on it. You get the damn watch.
Kenny, I love you, okay? Kenny, I love you.
Okay. See, people like it, it's my shark.
Kenny,
If my house
You're
is
just
a
putting yourself.
my watch.
Okay.
Look at the damn shark.
Okay.
Okay.
But bring it back.
Okay, so again, the purpose of that is you are not gonna go into that shark tank for something that's not important.
Right.
Okay? Shoot, I'm not even going into that shark tank. Now, I would say I would go in that shark tank for my husband, but now I'm not. I'm on a shark tank for the rest of y'all, but him, nah. So I say that to say, for the most of us, if one of our loved ones or something like that was in that situation, we would do that. Put it differently. Who are you willing to go to jail for?
Me,
My grandson.
for
Okay.
me, that's
Just
it.
you.
I ain't going on there about it.
Okay, So-
Children,
huh?
wife, husband, children, grandchildren.
So look, think of that like the same with the shark tank,
Yes, still.
right? Because even if we have someone, so like for instance, if someone comes up to you and they're trying to steal your pocketbook, is your pocketbook worth going to jail for?
No.
Okay, and again, you can't use that because I mean, they even if you try to use that as self-defense, I don't think that's gonna work in a court of law because it's property. Okay, but if they were trying to kidnap your grandson, that's something different.
Right.
Okay, or if maybe you've seen them trying to kidnap another person. Now, again, I would say if they were trying to kidnap a person, what I would say, is that person someone that you're willing to go to jail for? That's a decision you have to make. Okay? Kenny's like me, I'm gonna call 911.
That's it, I ain't getting.
But again, everybody is different. To me, there's no right or wrong answer. If a person said that they seen somebody being sexually assaulted that they don't know that they would, intervene, I'm not gonna look bad on that person because you have to do what you feel is right for you. But I said, you have to make sure that when you do that action, you're willing to go to jail for that.
So a prime example, or a good example would be, remember sometime last year, the guy that went into the Walmart up in Minnesota, has a lot of shit going on. The guy went into Walmart and stabbed somebody or tried to stab a couple of people, retreated out into the parking lot. One black guy, I think it was in Minnesota, one black guy who's a ex-Marine was the only person that drew down on him. The guy was backing away from him though. He never fired at the guy. The individuals around him, and if you go back and look at the video, when they interviewed him Monday morning, the next morning, he said things were being said around him, but he had to keep himself in check from not doing anything to this guy. Basically, the people around him
We'll tell them to shoot him.
telling him to shoot him.
Yeah.
And if you look at the video, and as they're advancing forward, 2 of them are right beside him, and they're walking along with him, but he has his gun drawn. And the guy is backing away from him. So.
He's retreating. So
we have
if,
to-
because if he had have shot the guy,
He would have been wrong.
he would have been wrong.
Right.
Because the guy was not, he was not a threat, he was retreating,
Let's retreat.
okay? So he would have been wrong. But what it looked like he was trying to do is make sure that guy retreated,
So
okay? It got in his car and left.
the thing is, he was mindful enough, and that's what all of this is. Making us aware, making us stay mindful of everything, judgments, things of that sort. I feel lucky enough to be able to have moved from New York and move out here. I keep in mind that I'm not the only one carrying.
Yeah. I hear you, right?
I have to keep in mind that if I see something, how will I react? I always said to myself, even with the situation in Buffalo, you see a person walking towards Walmart with an AK or AR in a certain manner, by all means, dial 911. But as that person is walking, starts popping off shots, hitting people, now you have to say to yourself, am I gonna risk getting out my car, drawing my weapon, and try my best to stop this person from hurting other individuals who may not be aware of him approaching?
Again, are you willing to go to jail?
I saw a situation like that, they have a video. This guy's in Walmart, and a guy comes in prepared to do that mass murder thing. And so this armed individual, armed citizen, Second Amendment, pulls his gun, goes into action. He's doing the thing like you see on TV, da 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 da. But what he didn't see was the account of wolves travel in packs.
Correct. And I was actually gonna say that too. I was gonna say, and before you make that decision, you need to, a lot of people wanna say, go ahead.
Okay. But he was doing his, vacuum PI thing. Chick, he walked right by the chick. She just went, man.
Shot him in the head.
He shot straight in the head, end of story.
Yep.
Whoa.
So a lot of people say they want to, protect someone, they come in and they see a situation. You have to be careful because you don't know if it's one person or more. You don't know. Someone you think is a victim could actually be one of the perpetrators. So these are all of the things that you got to keep in your mind when you say, oh, I go into a store and I see someone coming in. I see someone coming in with an AR-15, I'm leaving. Okay, I'm leaving. I am going, okay? But again, different people will do different things. I'm just gonna say be mindful.
I've had situations where I see a guy, arguing, or fighting a woman, and it's his wife, his girlfriend, and you gotta be careful about how you approach a situation like that, You go up there and intervene, man, and then the woman turns on you.
You never get involved in marital issues because he or she may be upset at that moment. But as soon as that moment is over, you go and you talk all that smack about that person. Now you don't understand why 2 weeks later that person ain't talking to you because you talked about their person.
Well, I'm saying as a man, I don't like to see a man put his hands on.
Correct. But you gotta be careful.
You don't know what that situation is. They're very.
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
We don't live in the world we lived before.
Yeah.
Years ago, it was different, how people did things. And I think years ago, you may have been able to be in a situation where you've seen something like that and respond. Today, I think you have to be very, 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 very careful.
Well, I'm thinking, today, 50 years ago, if you get involved in a situation like that, and you see a guy, beating up on a woman, and you come in and you start tuning him up, then the woman, she's got a weapon, she turn around and
Shoot
knife
you.
him,
Just shoot you or stab you or whatever, because you messing with her person. It don't matter, she just got beat up.
Just gotta be careful.
That was a scenario on a train last year. two guys got into a fight, and the female, actually, the guy that was coming to
Rescue,
her, yeah, she stabbed him.
it's like what he's saying, you have to be careful. You don't, when you go into a situation that's already taking place, or if you go into a situation that's taking place, okay, you don't know what's been set up, you gotta be careful.
Tracy, you know, there's a police officer down in Texas, they got him on trial for not going into that school.
Oh, yes, when
that.
well, but that's different, he should have gone in there,
Yeah.
see, he is a peace officer, law enforcement, it's his responsibility. I don't think there's any of us here right now who's currently peace officers. I don't think there's any of us who have to go in, even Derek, he's an ex, okay? So that's different, that's a different situation.
That's his job.
That's his job, that's his job to go in.
While everybody's running away,
He has to go into
gotta run
there,
into.
he has to go into it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He didn't even make an attempt.
That's fine.
Correct. Yeah, that was bad, and that was babies, but that was a bunch of babies.
If we do that, if we went into the school and took.
But that's not your job.
That's not.
Right.
No, they were still prosecutors,
Yeah,
That's not your job.
but we saved all the children.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Now, if you are defending your home, right? Someone comes into your home, you've done everything you can to, you've set up things where you have your plan, your home defense plan. So your family knows where to go or whatever, you may be checking things out, and the threat comes towards you. There's nothing you can do. You decide it's him or us.
Can you hear me?
And
Can you hear me? Tracy.
if a person gets shot or passes away, just understand you're gonna go to jail. But if you have USCCA, you just call Craig. And if you get into that situation, call a friend, tell them to call 911. There's a situation that took place, and do not give them any details.
As a USCCA member, if someone, invaded a house, when it was pushing, I mean, are we required as USCCA members to establish a safe room?
No.
You're not required to.
Then put him in the house.
I mean, it's for your safety.
Something to consider.
It's something to consider. And
And
it's not even as a USCCA member, it's just as, even if you weren't a member, it's something to consider.
Trace. A second. Yeah, okay.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. First off, how y'all doing?
Very good.
Well, good.
Good. The scenario that Tracy just gave me. If it is a home invasion, someone's coming in, yes, have a safe room for you and your family to go sit in. You are not law enforcement, you are not whatever. You are to bunker down in the room, right? And if they're going to go take stuff, take stuff. If they are going to attack you, that is a different scenario. You are to call 911, put it on speaker, and hold your ground where you are. Do not go start clearing your house for the same reason that she just gave you guys. You don't know more people outside waiting to come in. You don't know anything of the situation.
Hold up, Kenny, hold up. That is if you have your whole family in that same safe room.
Correct.
If your children are not in that room,
You can go get them.
you need to
Go
go
get
and
'em.
get your children and get back into the
That's
safe
it.
room. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to make it easy. My kids, my house, my kids' room is the safe room. They all know to go into one room because then where my room is at, I gotta fight past that person to go get to them. So absolutely. But if you're already in your safe room, do not then leave that room to start clearing. You have your firearm, whatever you have to go protect you, you barricade yourself in that room,
You call 911, you put it on speaker, you let them do their thing. Give them as much information as possible. But if they're just in there to take stuff, let them take their stuff because you don't know what's gonna happen. Again, yes, we do not have a duty to retreat. We have cast doctrine. Someone's in your house, 1000%. You have the right to defend your home. But you also have to take into consideration your level of skill, because if one of those rounds you start shooting off, leaves that house and goes to somebody else's house, you have to deal with that. Every single time you pull the trigger, the round is attached and turning. Period.
Correct.
I didn't think of it.
So be very cognizant of the difference of everyone is in the safe room and I can stay here and be safe. If now someone is kicking at that door and trying to get in, absolutely defend yourself. But if they're grabbing stuff and they're deviating, let them go do it. It's stuff that can be replaced.
100%. And like Dutch was saying, you don't have to, but if you have a home defense plan, defense plan, that's good. And one of the things that Kenny is actually offering, we talked about it a couple of classes, is he is offering a home defense, it's like a home defense, plan. I will make sure analysis. I'll make sure at the next class, and what I can do also is probably send the brochures out.
There's a home defense plan and brochures, and if you're a Blackfoot member, you do get a discount on it.
Correct.
Just to let you know. And with that assessment comes with, criminal activity in your neighborhood, just how many, pedophiles
In your area.
are in your area.
Because he's gonna wanna-
Once that it comes with, and if you want to develop a plan,
Yeah.
he can develop a plan for you and in safe room in your house.
And he also gives training with that as well. So we'll attach that so everybody knows about it. I forgot to bring some pamphlets. I have to make sure I print out some of those. Yes.
Question, somebody breaking into your house, but you don't see a weapon.
No, you can't beat him.
It's back to reasonable reasonable force. So you may have to, you may, and this is where, and it's funny, someone had sent a YouTube video with a person who said, you know what, you should carry this repellent, right? And my husband brought up something interesting, and then I also looked at it when I was doing research for the class. So, yeah, the repellent, because it basically, if you spray this stuff in someone's eyes, it'll make them blind.
Less than lethal.
Yeah, that's right. It has to be less than lethal. That right there would be,
Like bee spray.
yeah,
Joanna had sent some
yeah.
bee spray, because some of that stuff, it goes like 30 feet or whatever it is.
Wasp.
And
Wasp.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
So it's, it's different, you have to be careful, because if they come in, right, and there's no firearm or no weapon, right? Even though it's in your home, now you have the question of, okay, well, was the force, so you just have to be mindful of when you decide to make those decisions. The other thing is if your vehicle. So if somebody's going to steal your car, let them take it. But if your wife is in the car, Stephen, you don't let them take it. You defend.
How big is this guy? What we got, OJ?
Getting rid of him.
She's on the south side,
I'm getting rid of him.
32nd Street.
I'm gonna
That's
take
what-
interviews for a new husband. But again, if your kids or your significant other, then that, is a reason where you could defend yourself. But if it's for the vehicle itself, it's a piece of property. Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming to our training session on legal use of force. We didn't really go over any of the scenarios I was thinking of going over, but I think it worked out well anyway, because we did talk about some things, so I think it was a great class.
And we will do this class again sometime in the future.
Correct.
So we can try to get through the whole slideshow. And then Tracy will possibly be able to, give her a different scenario.
Definitely.
So, once again, we appreciate you guys for coming out. We know that it's bitter cold outside. And, there was some thought to canceling this, but once the forecast said that the snow wasn't expected until tonight or tomorrow, we said we'd go ahead with the class. And I appreciate the fact that it was well attended.
Yes.
And as I said, this was an experiment that we're having right now. We, in the future, will probably have classes which you can get on Zoom. So, this way we can alleviate people coming out in inclement weather. But, your participation is greatly appreciated. That said, we do have